This guy is a serial tax evader. His prestigious anti-poverty One Foundation are literally known for stealing the money of poor people. He's also known for hanging out with criminals. So Bono, being the good little globalist that he is, as soon as he got in front of a camera and got on the Jimmy Kimmel show and the Joe Rogan podcast, he started attacking Trump, started making egregious claims, and just basically made a complete tool out of himself. People have gone crazy covering this story, but I've actually brought some receipts that I have seen nobody talking about in the last couple of days, whilst they were pushing back on the great Bono.
Nice.
Before we get into it, if you can do me a favour, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, and maybe turn on the notifications, so every time I upload, you'll get an old ding, and we will be sorted and we'll get this channel going again. Cheers. I suppose the first place we should start is right here, where Bono appeared over on Joe Rogan. I was going to say it on the Comedians podcast, but we know that that's not real. Anyhow, let's have a listen.
Just recent report. It's not proven, but their surveillance enough suggests 300,000 people have already died from just this cut off, this hard cut of USAID. So there's food rotting in boats, in warehouses. There is this will fuck you off. This will not, you will not be happy. No American will. But there is, I think it's 50,000 tons of food that are stored in Djibouti, South Africa, Dubai, and wait for it, Houston, Texas. And that is rotting rather than going to Gaza, rather than going to Sudan, because the people who know the codes or for the warehouse are fired. They're gone.
I'm sure the automatic reaction for even normies watching Bono here would be to jump in straight away with misinformation and disinformation. Of course he's spoofing. Of course there's absolutely no truth to what he is saying. And the audacity for him to go on the Joe Rogan podcast, where Donald Trump is a big fan of Joe and a lot of his followers watch Joe, and target audience just isn't there for Bono, especially when he's out telling lies like this. Because straight away he was fact checked, and Fox News made it clear that the report that Bono's 300,000 figure comes from is not actually confirmed deaths, but it's actually speculative models built by Brooke Nichols, a mathematical health modeler at Boston University, projecting what could happen as a result to the cuts. Nicholas has said that a number of these projections are not a direct count due to the absence of real-time tracking in many of these affected regions. So Bono and his cronies, and we all know who his cronies are. We know what island he was hanging out on. We've seen him with Barack Obama, Beyonce, and P. Diddy. Like, automatic alarm bells, and anybody who knows Bono and who he hangs out with knows exactly what he's about. The dude is an absolute fraudster, and I'm going to show that in 2 seconds time. So he's on Joe Rogan, he's talking about how the evil Trump administration is just holding back money and just letting food rot, and USAID funds just aren't reaching the poor African people that he has spent 25 years helping himself. And if you want to know what the USAID fund was spent on in terms of how it was allocated and put over here to Ireland, I'll just show you this one right here. Here we have an immigrant up on the national broadcaster where this money was allocated, and the Irish broadcaster decided to spend the USAID money not on food for poor people, actually on an African migrant who is over here lecturing Irish people. She's live on television right here, and she's singing an old folk song for Irish people, except for there's a twist on it.
Days gone by, my mind been bent on wandering, to Ireland I did fly. I crept aboard a vision, and I followed with the will, till at last I came to anchor at the cross on Spansel. Where are you from originally? No, but like, alright, sure, but like, where are you really from? Originally. You know, some people say that our souls are composed of borders. And all of the lines we have crossed which spancel our hearts when we seek. There are some people who have grown up borrowing accents from almost every single continent, trying to fill in the...
That's enough of that. That's where your USAID money is being funded and funneled into. Some fat black chick lecturing Irish people on the national broadcaster about where is she originally from. Well, there's a simple answer. You could have just said Africa and moved on. Of course someone's going to ask you that question. We don't need to hear a lecture about it funded by USAID. So Bono got called out on his spoof. He got caught telling lies. He got fact checked. But this wasn't the only appearance that he made this week. He was also over on Jimmy Kimmel and he was trying to justify, or maybe not even justify, maybe he was just super proud of the fact that he was hanging out with Beyonce, Jeffrey Epstein, P. Diddy, Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama, all that sort of stuff. And again, he was taking a chance to poke fun at Donald Trump. Have a listen.
One, to be in the company of Bruce Springsteen, Beyonce, and Oprah. I'd play tambourine in that band. And two, you two and I have we've never paid or played a show to support any candidate from any parts.
That never happened.
It has never happened, and...
You notice why Jimmy jumped in there with that never happened. Of course it never happened. And I believe that it never happened. I don't think Obama and all these absolute left-wing lunatics would pay him to sing. I think that he's just frothing at the mouth for the chance to get over there and bend the knee for Obama and Biden and Kamala and all these type of people and Hillary Clinton. So I don't think he got paid.
It's called Truth Social. It seems to be pretty anti-social. It's not very true a lot of the time. So...
It's
but
ironically titled.
But a clue to being in such esteemed company might be the fact that I co-founded the One campaign, which is by design bipartisan, and we've got a lot of very religious Catholics, evangelicals, conservatives, who are very, very, very angry with the person that they voted into office, having demolished instruments of mercy and compassion like USAID or PEPFAR, which had saved 26 million lives.
Okay, so we're going to stop it there and we're just going to break it down to simple facts right now. Bono is using his public appearances here to attack Donald Trump and the administration for pulling back on these initiatives that are tax funded. So basically he's putting the money back in the pocket of the American people, and Bono the Irish rat is over here using propaganda and gaslighting to try extract that money back out of the taxpayers. Now he talks here about the esteemed company that he keeps, and one of the reasons why he keeps this esteemed company is because of the One Foundation, which he founded like 20 years ago, which the sole purpose is to feed the poor Africans. You would think after 20 years, 30 years, even 40 years of all this aid going out to Africa that they might be able to feed themselves by now. Obviously not. It seems to be an ongoing thing that we're just going to have to endure. Even when our great-great-great-grandkids are adults, I guess we're still going to have to be funding the poor people out in Africa, right? But what exactly is Bono's track record with feeding the poor black people out in Africa? Let's have a look at that. Bono's One Foundation under fire for giving little over 1% of its funds to charity. The epitome of anti-poverty hypocrisy from this absolute shill. Bono's Anti-Poverty Foundation, One, is under pressure to explain its finances after it was revealed that only a small percentage of the money it raised reached the needy. Oh my god, shocking, surprising. Who could have thought that that was the case with this absolute scumbag? The non-profit organisation set up by the U2 frontman received almost 9.6 million in donations in 2008, but handed out only 118,000 to good causes. That is 1.2%. Wow, so 8 million he kept for himself out of the 9.6. Figures published by the New York Post also showed that 5.1 million went towards paying the salaries of these anti-poverty, do-good, egalitarian, utopian living, absolute gems that we have to put up with that are at the front and centre of every democratic media campaign. I guess shilling for poor African people can be very lucrative for these elites who tell you what to do. But it doesn't really stop there with Bono, because the U2 frontman Bono named in Paradise Paper tax evasion leak. Yes, the man who was on TV crying and spreading mis and disinformation about USAID funding and wanting to take more money from the taxpayer of the United States and practically every other Western country in the world is a serial tax offender. We've seen repeated headlines like tax rogues like Bono are harming the world's poorest people. Of course Of course he is. So over here in the Paradise Papers, the tax evasion leaks section, we see that Bono is, he uses his name to fight for social justice. Of course he does. The U2 frontman Bono is one of the richest musicians in the world. At the G8 summit in 2007, he sang against poverty in the world. But in the same year, he also invested his money in a letterbox company in a tax haven of Malta. For almost a year, 400 journalists from 67 countries have evaluated the documents that revealed that tax tricks of companies, politicians, athletes and criminals. Offshore legal and not so legal interactions is what Bono is known for. He's also known for hanging out with criminals. And he is on television trying to extract more money out of normal, hard-working people's pockets for virtue. And with a little sampling of Trump derangement syndrome thrown in there, this guy is a real piece of work. I thought it was important to point out the fact that this guy is a serial tax evader. To evade taxes, he bounced out of his precious Ireland and went over to Holland to set up his studio, where he could launder his money into these illegal pyramid schemes out in Malta. He's known within the press as being a tax rogue, a tax evader. He's actually doing more harm to the poor people of Africa. His prestigious Anti-Poverty One Foundation are literally known for stealing the money of poor people. And this guy has the audacity to go on Joe Rogan and onto Jimmy Kimmel and talk shit about Donald Trump and the working class people of America. What a piece of shit. Let me know down below what you think of Bono. Let me know if any of it made sense. And if it did, maybe hit like, subscribe and share. And if you want to help out the channel, you can become a member or you can jump onto the Patreon. Cheers.